Dennis?
Good evening. I'm Dennis McDyke. I'm the Interim Director of Operations Support Oversight for Safety and Security for TriMet. Thank you for having me here this evening. I appreciate the opportunity. I think most of you have this handout that shows the overview of the Safety Department. I'm not going to go into great detail or read off of this other than to start out. There's a purpose statement at the top of this. Our responsibility is to establish safety as paramount and core value in all TriMet operations, including planning, design, construction, testing, and maintenance of the transit system. And I think that that's something that we day to day focus on and are always trying to improve. It's a dynamic operation, and we feel we can always improve on it. Right now, I sit as the interim director of System Safety and Security. I have one manager of safety reporting to me, 2 specialists assigned to capital projects, 3 assigned to operations, and then I have a manager for the drug and alcohol program, and then 1 that's assigned to administer the actual drug testing. So that's the extent of our staff. Something else I was asked to talk about this evening is the makeup of our safety committees. They are required by OSHA for us to establish these committees. There are 8 committees agency-wide, ranging from maintenance at the different bus facilities, rail facilities, not just vehicle maintenance, but maintenance of way, and then also the transportation facilities. There's one point in here I'd like to make a comment on under item 7. It says, note a few years ago, bus transportation had 3 separate safety committees, 1 from each garage. One of the main reasons that we combined those is that we wanted to have consistency between the facilities. You know, you might have someone at a center saying that we've got a problem with a particular seat on this series bus, and then the safety committee over at Powell comes up with a completely different recommendation, and we're kind of at odds. So we wanted to make sure that we had consistency across all 3 facilities, so that's one of the reasons that that was combined. So as we have these committees, as they're formed, they consist of equal numbers of management employees and represented employees. So let's say we had 3 management employees and you have 3 represented employees, and then there's an elected chairperson for that particular committee. And that's kind of the way the makeup of the committee happens. We start out by asking for volunteers, for people to come and join on the committee, and then if we can't get enough volunteers, then we'll specifically go out and seek people out to join membership of the committees. One of the other things that our safety group responds to is accident reviews, accident appeals. They serve on all of these committees. We have safety committee members on each of our 8 committees. And then they also serve on our transit change review committee, which is the agency's configuration management process. So even though safety is involved in all of these things, I think that we can always improve. I would like to see safety take a more leadership role within the agency rather than sitting at the table, that we step up and take a leadership role in many of these things across the board. I welcome any feedback from this group to make our safety operation within the agency better. And we've embraced all of the comments that we've received to this point, and we're looking at all of those very seriously. We don't take anything that's given to us lightly. So everything from the K&J report, the line by line, and then anything that's coming out of this group, we're going to look at that. And as Neil said, we really want to change the culture here, and I have the same feeling. We need to change the culture. one of the things I was talking to Josh earlier today is that some of the senior operators at times, based on their past experience, maybe back in the mid-'80s, I wrote up a yellow card saying there was a safety problem. And I turned it in, and nobody ever got back to me, and nobody ever followed up with me. And 20-some years later, they figured, well, why bother turning something in because they're going to ignore us. Well, that's not the way we run things today. And so we need to change that culture and get out to the workforce and say, hey, look, when you give us something, we're going to take a serious look at it, and we'll get back to you one way or the other on how this is going to be taken care of. Okay.
Dennis, a question.
Yes, certainly.
2 paragraphs ago or so, you made the comment that you'd like to see, I'll paraphrase this poorly, the safety function take a more proactive role within TriMet.
Yes.
Take it either way you like. What would you change to make that possible, or what's in place that makes it impossible?
I wouldn't say it's impossible. One of the things, and I've had discussions with my boss, with Neil, about this. The Transit Change Review Committee right now is chaired by our transportation group. And my feeling is I think that should be owned by safety. Now that's taken on a big workload to do that. And so, if we decide that's the road we're going to go down, we're going to have to figure out a way to do that and make that happen. But in one way, I think that's a way that we could take a leadership role in the configuration management within the agency.
You have a follow-up on that, Roger?
I wish I could think of one time, but I can't.
Dennis,
I thought
Other questions?
yes, I do. So, you mentioned here that those committee notes are taken every time, through OSHA
Right.
requirement and posted.
Yes.
Is there anyone within the safety group that's kind of monitoring? I know you said you have someone from the safety group participating in each one of those committees.
Correct.
But is someone kind of monitoring those committees to make sure that you're kind of hitting on sort of tone at the top type issues at every meeting, every committee structure? Is there a way to make sure there's consistency in terms of how those groups are structured and communicated?
It's a great question, and I feel that's another place that we could step up to the plate, take a more leadership role from the safety department in those committees, absolutely.
Because I think we talked about some of the data that may be relevant, to share on a regular basis with not just people in the safety committees, but maybe all employees.
Absolutely.
And that could be a way to start that conversation and focus on safety overall. So.
Right. A lot of the stuff that Steve talked about, there's a lot of data and information that's out there that TriMet does have. And I think that we need to do a better job of getting that information and using it proactively rather than reactively.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
Just a quick follow-up to that, and the sort of following the line of the safety performance data. So do you do any regular reporting on safety performance to your superiors?
Not other than the performance reporting that goes on. So like the miles between accidents is part of our monthly report as that goes out, but there's no trend analysis, that sort of thing that goes along with that. That's what you're trying to get at, Rob? Yeah. Right.
So, Dennis, you have 7 committees. 2 of them are related to field transportation operations, rail and bus. It's a correct assumption, I presume, to believe that the vast majority of the incidents and accidents happen in the bus system, the rail system, as opposed to in the garages or in the offices, for that matter.
You bet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some comments, Dennis, all supportive, highly supportive of the comments you made early in August when the bus safety committee, and maybe by way of background, there used to be 3 bus safety committees, 1 at each garage. That's now been combined, and the bus safety committee meets out at Merlot, both for information gathering and real curiosity. With Josh and Sandy Vinci, I went out to a portion of that meeting. Absolutely fascinating in 2 regards. The composition of the committee, genuine pros on the subjects of safety. I had random questions, and people, they understand it, they get it, they care about it. thinking back both on that and response to some of the questions, if I ask them in the hierarchy of TriMet committees, where do you rank? It is not at the top.
Right.
Same comments you've made about yellow cards. Safety committee will make recommendations, not days, not weeks, but a few months later, a response comes back. Just a horrible, horrible kind of signal. The talent is there. They care. It falls to Neil and the leadership of the organization to express what the proper role is. Close with two anecdotes. If Tony Mihailovich were here tonight and he couldn't be, he would tell you at United Parcel they made a watershed breakthrough 8 years ago, which they summed up in the following. Safety is not a priority. Safety is a value. And it has absolutely stuck with me when safety becomes elevated beyond something which is important and we must pay attention to literally a statement of ethical purpose. Safety is a value. Things change about it. Second, and take this only as the kind of weird comment I would make, at a point when TriMet has to make a choice between funding and emphasizing the safety operation and funding and emphasizing financial controls, and says between the two, we will place our money on safety, we will all know you've arrived. And that day will never come. That choice does not have to be made. But if the choice were there, the organization needs to have the cultural underpinning to say safety is a value, financial performance is a priority. Value always trumps priority.
Appreciate that.
Other questions for Dennis? Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.